My name is Tina Boss. I am a Senior Structural Technology and BIM Specialist for Herald Engineering Limited. We are a 75-person firm in Vancouver Island, and we have structural and civil services out of our offices. I've been working there for 8 weeks. You can imagine what my template may look like right now. So a lot of this content is going to be based on my previous job, which was for Stantec Engineering. And I was the BIM lead Revit specialist for structure for them. So that's a 10,000 person firm with hundreds of offices across North America and Canada. I was in charge of the entire structural discipline, which basically scoped about 24 offices, 150 to 200 users. I went around doing Revit structure training for the company, as well as maintaining the template and the content and pushing out all the information to all the offices. The key point about this is that it was such a large company that we needed to streamline the template in order to have the end users following standards across all the offices and just try to keep everything standardized. This doesn't always work. I'm not the template police. I don't go around to the offices checking their models and seeing how they're actually using the content. However, we did try to lead them to the water, help them make the right choices, let them know what content was already developed, what is already in the template, and what's available for them to use. Class summary, I'm sure you've already read it. Key point about a template is to have a great leap into every project, consistent standards, consistent setup, improve the quality of the model and documentation, assist with collaboration across the disciplines. We were a multidisciplinary firm, so we had architectural, mechanical, electrical services within the company, so we did a lot of cross-collaboration within our own offices, as well as outside consultants. Today we're going to talk about increasing productivity with your Revit template, developing strategies for implementing company standards, creating structural specific schedules, and how to update your Revit Structure 2013 template. So, template basics. On the left, we're going to see a list of things. These would be the basic setup, the first things we do. This is the first thing I did when I was using Revit Structure 3. About 30 seconds after my boss took a first look at my first Revit project and told me it was the ugliest set of drawings he'd ever seen in his life. Back to the drawing board. On the right, just a little more step forward into developing the basic template just a little bit further with more standards and consistent views for the users. Textiles. We like to use a consistent naming standard by type properties. I don't know how many of you have tried to bring all of your CAD standards into Revit. Anyone? I get a lot of that. We did the same thing. We'd like Revit to look like CAD. No. If you have to use CAD, your CAD needs to look like Revit. This is the setup for my current office, part of the template that I've developed thus far. They were using these text standards. So I've named them transparent, opaque, open dot, anything with type properties is in the type name. Same thing with dimension styles. Keeping it consistent, name them the same. Everyone will know what they're for. Text type. Almost a direct conversion right from CAD. Line weights and line patterns. Again, these have come right out of CAD. Makes it easy for everyone. 1 to 20 setup, visibilities. Line patterns, if you need new ones, make them. You can pull those right out of the pattern styles from CAD as well. Recreate them in Revit. Object styles. This controls the 3D modeled elements of everything. This is a tough one. I had to take a half a dozen stabs at this just to get it looking partially right, way back in Revit 3. But plot it, test it, plot it, test the sections, test it with your 1 to 20 setup, test it with your 1 to 50 setup, test it with your 1 to 100 setup, and do it again until you've got it looking how you want. Line styles. We've done a lot of work with outside consultants. We've seen a lot of line style setups, most commonly named by weight and pattern. We've seen additional line styles set up for, we'll say, line 1. Maybe they want to order them on the list. Also commonly named for having the company initials at the end. This works great if you're in a one model environment. You can find your own line styles. I typically, on the left there, those are mine. I like to keep the list short. If you need more, you add more. And they've been set up to match the object style settings. Content. Load up your template. Bring it all in. Columns, footings, beams. As you can see here, I've got an entire list of framing members loaded into the project. Is it all the framing members? It's not all the framing members, but there's a couple of every type loaded into the project. Why do I do this? Once again, 24 offices. If they're to come into this template and they need a beam, there's what the beam is named. If they go onto this beam, they select the type, reload, it takes it right to the company standard content. So, how many people use reload from the browser? Yeah. So it's just a method to keep everything consistent. They don't have to go looking for the content. Hit reload. Comes right in. Load your annotations, your detail components, especially your custom detail components. Maybe you want to load all of them. Was anyone in that intelligent detailing class at one? Yeah. Maybe you want to load them all. Again, why not? It's easy to purge things. It takes more time to load them in. System families. Go through and set up your walls, your floors, shear walls, wood walls, concrete walls, various thicknesses, floors. Once it's all set up, it's easy to duplicate to different thicknesses, but it's nice to have a placeholder value for everything in your model, in your template. Sorry. Filled regions. Again, it's easy for every user to make one, but if it's already made for them, they don't have to do it. They don't come up with some fancy name that they've thought of on that day. They're all named the same. Of course, at the end of this, if you've gone ahead and taken Brian Mackey's advice and made your own custom family templates, all of this stuff is in here. Again, it's consistent through your content and your projects. Browser organization. Put some in there. We like to organize our browser by plotting views, working views, coordination views, analytical views. The typical details project, I should mention we have 2 templates in one typical details project. Of course, one template is metric, one template is imperial, and the other one is the typical details project. In the typical details project, we have it organized by material, so every typical detail can be easily found. Also within the typical details project, we set up all the sheets by material details, so they can be easily imported with insert views from file. How many people use a project data view? Yeah, it's not that common. I really like it, but I presented this presentation a couple weeks ago in my new office, and the information on this Save the Central view grew. So we've got in here project number. I kind of argued that point. I added it in there, but it's occurred to me that if you've got the project open, you know what the project number is because we name our projects by number. So location, client names, are you using links, are you using design options, are you using phasing? These are things people should know when they open your project. The level of detail, who are they going to talk to? Of course, you can save this view as a starting view. Every time the project opens, that's the first screen they see. It's an excellent way to communicate information about the project. Project location view. I don't use this a whole lot. But again, it's like the old saying goes, if you got a office, you've got a, sorry. You might use it once or twice a year. You know, I load in an architectural model and I can see that they've got different elevations from me. Hit the view, check it out. The grids are in here. This is a clip from about 1.5 years ago, actually, that I have. Don't have grids in your project if you're doing analytical import and export. Learn it the hard way, right? Import an analytical view, and it's got grid 1 and grid A already in there. It starts naming after that, hey? 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't match. How-to views. We have several of these set up. One of them is in the template. How to use this template. And then we have a whole bunch of how-to views set up in the typical details project. Mainly, this is a bunch of my training material set into PDF, imported into the typical details project. I find that I can give out people a lot of handouts. It doesn't mean they always can find them or read them, or so I just kind of keep a redundancy into the typical details project. Separate them if you can. There's quite a drag if you've got 20 PDFs in the same view. Separate them out by topic. It also, because you can search through the browser now in 2013, and you make it really easy for them to search information and how to do things. Okay. I also have a template content view in my template. Text styles, dimension styles, the line styles, the filled patterns, detail components, repeating details, annotations, symbols. They're all in the view. For one thing, they can't be purged out of the project unless they delete the view. For a second thing, if you can't remember what something is named, you can come in here and cut and paste it out of the view and or select it and see what it is. So, just another helpful view. Okay, further on. Implementing company standards. So now we're going to go further. General notes, typical details, best practices, drawing lists. Again, a number of items that we use in every project. We don't want to do it over and over again. I don't want 150 people in 24 offices doing the same thing on every job. General notes. It doesn't matter how you got them together. Text group, note blocks, key schedules. Make a 2D view in your typical details project that you can export. Typical details project. Again, this is just a clip of the views by material. Anybody bring their CAD details into Revit? Yeah, my new company's got all kinds of CAD details in Revit. We actually did that at the very beginning, but what we did is we stripped all the details out of all the text and annotations. We changed the lines in CAD to match the line styles in Revit so that when they came into the project, they maintained the line widths. And then we just redetailed. So those are all in Revit. They're Revit details now. BIM Best Practices document. How many people have one? It's a pretty long document. It has everything from, how to set up your brace elevations, what view should you use to do it, starting a project, archiving projects, where are the files kept? Because again, 24 offices, we had all their files on one drive that was pushed to every office. Okay? So once again, when I go out and I go training, I give them their BIM Best Practices document. Do they always read it? Do they always use it? No. So, again, redundancy, tossed it in the typical details project. Drawing lists and sketch schedules, always using a drawing list. So I made one. They look the same in every office. Sketch schedule is more of an administrative internal view that we use just to keep track of all the sketches that have been issued. It's filtered for an SK. Work and view list. How many people are using the work and view list? For those of you who would like to argue the point about having everything in your template, I would like to argue the point of using the working view list to delete everything out of the project when you're done. Quick and easy. Keeps a list of all your views. I like to organize it by sheet number. View use. Anything that's not on a sheet at the end of the project can be deleted out of the schedule. Take you about 15 seconds to delete everything out of the project. Hit your purge, model's clean, and you're done. The other thing on here that I've added this year is the view template linked to the view type, so you can see if a view template's been assigned to the views. So you can manage it through that. Placeholder links. Again, I like to make it easy for the users. What are they going to do? They're going to come in. They got a link to add, hit reload, load it from the file. Done. Folder structure, we use a consistent folder structure. Not only them, but for me. I can come in at the end of the project and scoop up custom information they've made. They've made some custom families. They made some custom parameters. Have a look at what they've done. Maybe standardize it, push it to all the offices. Maybe not. We've got 2D and 3D mapping files from AI export out to Revit in the mapping folders. Same location for the central project. We got people working from Toronto, working on Vancouver projects, whatever it is, they know where to find everything that they need. Structural specific schedules. In our template right now is foundation schedules, column schedules, beam schedules, base plate schedules, and a bunch of setup for shear walls. So typical view for our schedules. We create them, place them on a sheet, the standard sheet that we're going to issue. Foundation schedules in your company go on S501, and they should be on S501 in your template. Not only are they there and set up and ready to go, but they're set up with the complete documentation of how do they work, which parameter is guiding which information. Are you inputting information, or is the family collecting the information automatically? Okay, so this is just a typical schedule. And we have one for everything. Again, I don't want 24 people in 24 offices doing the same thing. So there's one for footings, there's one for piles. They've been filtered for a type name of P or PC or C grade beams, whatever it is that you're using. Columns, same format. It's on a sheet. It's all labeled up with all the parameters. I've got a steel column schedule. I've got a wood schedule. I've got a concrete schedule. I've got simple ones, graphical ones. I've got graphical ones that include the loads and forces on every column. You've got combined. If you don't care if it says wood and steel in the same schedule, it's in the same schedule. Documented all the parameters, placed it on the sheet per the AI standards. Yep.
How do you have a graphical load in the template if you don't have columns in the project?
If I don't have columns in the project? Yeah, well, this is a clip from a project. Right. Oh, okay. What I did is I actually, I did export it to CAD and load it into the template, and then I put all the information on it. So the tag, just to say what the tag information is, and all the parameters running it. So it's still detailed up in text with all the engineering notes. Yeah, there's not actually a schedule in there. But
If you use a Revit graphical column schedule in your template, you can't have it if there's no real common sense. It won't create itself.
Yep. Beam schedules. How many people here are reinforcing all their concrete beams in their projects? Cool, cool, cool. Very good. We did that once. It was a very large project. It actually worked out really well on the upper floors. It was terrific. And then the main floor started to change. It started to slope everywhere. It started to step everywhere. It turned out we were building things in the field, and the architect determined they didn't have enough headroom. There was reinforcing everywhere. It was very hard to manage. So, the powers that be got together and they said, we don't really like this. It was so much work. And so, hence became the concrete beam schedule. So we have a couple. Actually, the second one is redundant. It's still in the template. It's pretty redundant. We had to recreate a duplicate schedule to compensate for beams that have the same size but different reinforcing. So this is just the template is forever evolving. So we got a typical detail link to it. We put all the information in by type. If we have some beams that are just unstandard, sloping or stepped or whatever they are, we reinforce those beams, cut a section, and add it to the sheets. Otherwise, everything is by schedule. Simple beam schedule set up in the template as well, by material. Blaze plate schedules. These are fun. Got a variety of these set up as well. Full modeled connection details. Distance to the bolts. Size of the bolts. All by type. Terrific. Simple model connection schedule with typical details. I've got a simple user input schedule which does say dumb in the project browser. And a base plate tag if you just want to do it in your sections. Again, I've got 24 offices, people working in a variety of methods. It's all set up for them ready to go. Whether they choose to use it is another matter, but shear walls, wood shear walls. We have a different setup for wood shear walls versus concrete shear walls. The wood shear walls are just a type parameter schedule. We have a shear wall tag and plan, link to the schedule. Very basic. Don't do a whole lot of modeling and detailing. We have a lot of typical details to cover the shear walls, especially wood shear walls. Simple schedule will do it. Concrete shear walls. We like to tag them in plan. Tag the zones, tag the shear wall, then do details, then do elevations. It's a lot of custom setup. We started by detailing them as groups, but then I couldn't tag them, so I didn't like that method. Then you went to modeling the zones as columns. That worked really well. I've got the columns filtered out of the schedules and out of the views for their surface edges, and it works great. Hit the extensions, model up the reinforcing. I can tag it in plan every time I change the elevation, or if they cut an elevation in a different method. The zones don't get confused. You know which way they are. It's all linked parametrically. I was in the process of changing this actually to assemblies before I left. It's the next step. So it doesn't really matter how you do it, but if it's set up and ready for them to go, it works really well. It was fun. Revit 2013. Everyone knows what's changed in Revit 2013 by now, right? Won't have to go into this in too much detail. View template structural levels and graphic enhancements for reinforcing. Of course, the view templates are dynamically linked to the views now. I was really excited about this. I thought that was great. I like to control other people in distant offices, set up a lot of stuff. What I determined from using it myself is that I found it really frustrating, because then when I went to change something, I couldn't because I'd forced myself into a view template. So I've kind of backed off a little bit on that. There's just a few setups, basic setups, foundations, framing plans, details. So I think we have a lead in every office that will have to take care of this further down the line. if they want to customize within their office and within their standards. Structural levels, building story levels. Did everyone see this when it came out? Structural levels. I was really excited about this. I thought that was cool. Structural levels. And it doesn't do what I thought it was going to do. My first thought is structural levels. I can make top of steel, top of joist, top of everything. And I won't, I could filter it out. That's terrific. I just assumed the architect wouldn't be able to see it if I called it a structural level. That's not how it works. I was kind of hoping when I saw it, I was like, well, structural levels, then we'll get architectural levels. I won't be able to see the top of the header, the underside of the header, all the doors, top of door, underside of door, whatever they're doing. Not so much. I think this is more linked to analysis. The building story parameter is terrific. I don't model. I mean, the key parameter is that it will split walls and columns. So if you use this as a building story, it'll split the columns and walls there when you export to IFC. I don't model like that. I don't teach anyone to model like that. We model floor to floor. Does anyone model full height? Yes, just one of, yeah. We cut live details from the model. So, I mean, if you're not cutting live details from the model or using it, I mean, now you could use it for analysis if you did it even floor all the way up to the 10th floor, but. So, pretty cool. I'm just assuming there'll be some very exciting, more linked stuff with analysis for this coming out in future releases. Graphics, reinforcement, enhancements. Again, this is more of a setting that might come up in your templates and your view template standards. So you can visibly set the graphics of reinforcing. Okay, so back to learning objectives. We increased our productivity, setting up the basics in our template. We went ahead and developed schedules. We've gone through the 2013 changes. One more thing you might want to consider, and I know some of the offices have taken my template and gone this extra step. If you've got a lot of new users, you might want to just turn that template right into a project. You can put your placeholder links on work sets. You can set up preset work sets. You can also lock down or own the project standards. Does anyone do that? Yeah, you take ownership of it. Yeah, so you can take ownership of those text styles and the dimension styles, and then they can't change them. You log in as admin, take ownership of all the projects, save it, standards, it's all set. Any questions? Yep.
For you, your wall elevations, was that model rebar or was it detail?
That was modeled rebar. So what we were doing is we took a bunch of columns that are set up in the schedule, in the project. So they're just called shear wall columns. So we use the size, we reinforce the columns, we toss them into the project. So the rebar shows in the plans, it shows in the details, it shows, and it's filtered out of the.
And you find the columns are better than just assigning something to the wall.
I like to use the extensions for reinforcing, right? So if you've got a column there, select the column. It's really fast, quick and dirty. Anyone else?
We create view titles, and how do we make it as a default when we drag view to apply sheet?
How do you make?
We create a customized view titles for views. Plan view, detail view, but every time we drag a view to a flat sheet, it uses the inbox Revit view title. How do we change the default to our customized view titles?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. It comes out with that. Does anyone know the answer to that? Can you customize the view name as you put it on a sheet? The view title.
Uses the last one that you use.
It uses the last one that you, well, yeah, but I mean, starting out from, I don't have that set up in my template either. Like, it's not It's not something that I have set so that it customizes. You will pick the last one, but
Not the last one.
The last one that was saved in the template. So, like,
the last one that was saved in the template.
yeah.
There you go.
Just the inbox.
So, like in your template, if you threw a view onto a sheet and set it as a specific view type, when you started a project off that template, every time you threw that same type of view onto a sheet, it would have that view type.
I didn't know
How
that.
about if you already do?
So you update your template with each new version, or do you create a new with each new version of Revit?
I update my template to every new version. I don't create a new one. We've got, like I said, we've got a few things grandfathered in there from years and years ago. So I've just recently taken out a family that was a nun tail for the section marks. Because, back in Revit Structure 4, I couldn't have no tail, so I'd gone in and drawn like an invisible family and loaded that in. And that was still loaded in 6 versions later until someone had said to me, you could just select none. I said, oh, well, now I can select none. So
So you
Yep.
don't lose any functionality doing that?
I have not had any, we're not having any problems with the template. I mean, the template is 30 megs. My template is 30 megs. The typical detailed project, of course, is much larger. But, yeah, we typically work with projects anywhere from, 80 megs, close to 150, and then, with the links and stuff. So,
Right.
yeah, not having to. But it depends what you're running in your office. I've been to a few offices, and, they're running some older computers. Any other questions? Yep.
This doesn't really have a lot to do with what you were talking about, but it sounds like you're familiar enough with this that you might have come across it. When you crop a view and it cuts your grid lines and your elevation lines, the amount that it leaves past the edge of the crop, do you ever found a way to control that?
I haven't even tried, actually. The only thing I do is I make sure I set them up in the right direction so they're always on the right side of the view when I cut it. Does anyone know the answer to that question? It seems quite standard. It's probably part of the system family.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find it anywhere, but you lay out a page of sections and they've all been cropped.
Yep.
They'll be quite a bit past where you want them, so we don't have to move them all in all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
It's also affecting if your section is detailed or build a section.
In the scale of it. Yeah.
So if it's detailed, there ain't supposed to close it. So the other sections are.
Any other questions? You're free to go finish your Autodesk marathon, of course, as I just marathon through this class.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.